guess from a young child I was very interested in symbology, writing images. I am fascinated with change because the only constant thing in my life has been change. The change influences me in a way that, for example, seeds and roots and things with plants are constantly changing. Nature's constantly changing. And a lot of that imagery comes into my work. I usually create monotypes with images that look good as a silhouette. I've done a series of monotypes and paintings called the Fox Spirit Chair. And the idea came to me when I was reading a Chinese story from the 1600s, and it described a healer in a room, and she had a red curtain and a little table with a chair on it with a red cushion. And a sick person would come in and she would conjure up the fox spirit to try to help them get better. And the moment I read that story, my imagination became alive with this red curtain, the red cushion, the chair, the table. So over that was about 7 years. Over that period of time, I bet I've created at least 20 images from that one little story. I always work with a resource. I always start with something that I can pin up or use for a drawing. And then as I'm working, I hope that I can deviate from that into realms unknown. And hopefully also, for me, it's good if I can maybe like more so in this print, which came after this one, evoke even something that is ethereal, provocative, mysterious. Those are all something that I'm striving for, even though I do start with a solid resource. My art is extremely personal and emotional, although a viewer might not be able to read what my interior motivation is. But it's always, to me, a metaphor. I love narrative, I love stories. I love it when a viewer can kind of create their own story from one of my images, or my image will resonate with them somehow. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I'll probably do it until I die, you know. Actually making a living as an artist, that's what I'm supposed to do.
I once posed a question to other artists, is like, can you work when you're depressed or sad? Because some people reflect those feelings in their work. But if I'm sad or upset or anything like that, I can't create art.
I discovered that most of the subjects I was using, fables, old mythological stories, and trying to kind of bring them up to today's meaning, are not necessarily part of today's culture. And people would look at them and say, this is quite nice, but what does it mean? The one stone that I use most commonly is alabaster, and it comes in very different textures and colors. Once you start carving, the shape, things look good, just to say it in plain English. It's the same as if you're drawing. You start with a line and a curve and a couple of other things, and eventually you correct a little bit here and there. And in stone, you have to do it in 3 dimensions, which is even more fun. Recently, actually, I was asked, how do your thoughts come together and your images? And it's not necessarily the same way for every artist or every art form. I'm sure that, modern abstract form probably aims more at sort of immediate transfer of emotion into colors and things. I'm sort of a slower. I get first strange associations between things that don't necessarily go together. What you're looking at, think of the caves of Bamiyan, that place where there were big figures of Buddhas that were blown up by the Taliban, one religion against the other. One stud that you will see, I think, that I'm working on now, came out from an invitation to prepare a work for a show that will be based on gates, passages, and connections. So I'm thinking now, okay, a closed door, the next thing is closed minds, and the next thing is radical religious thinking, faith with no reason behind it. Mind or reason, and that was the figure of eros or emotion or love, and they're running away from the situation, and they will be happy and laughing because they're leaving. You have to be able to come out with an image that conveys a certain emotional load, but at the same time tells something that is conceptual, and not using the term in the American conceptual art. I'm talking about concepts, ideas, thoughts. My concept of humanity, of mind, brain, etc., is that as individuals we are clearly finite. I do not think that there will be much left of me after my life ends. But the fact is that, truly think of it, we all think that somebody might remember us. Probably that's the basis of morality and ethics. If you think of yourself being remembered, you'd rather be remembered for good things rather than for bad things, I think.
I think there's only music that comes from your heart, truthfully, and that whatever we express, the style and the lyrics and the details are just that it's ultimately about pouring yourself and your soul into an expression.
You have played me, baby, like a master plays this instrument. You have played me, baby, like a master plays his instrument.
The title, Friend, came from me thinking about what Eric Clapton might feel for George Harrison in his passing, as he was sick and passing. And knowing that they had this really interesting friendship for years. And I just wrote it from that standpoint.
Interlude, as you played upon my strings, oh how I bend to your touch. I saw the music of your life. Yes, I told you. That much, just that much.
On Friend, we have the traveling band, which consists of Eric Selby on drums, Michael Leroy. Pede is the keyboardist. We have Michelle Lucas playing bass with us. This is her first run with us. She didn't play on the record. We had Jeanne Monroe, really a great friend of ours who plays with us. Also, we have Chris Brown on bass. We had on the album Bill Payne, the great Bill Payne from Little Feat, played keyboards on a couple songs, and the great Mike Finnegan, who played with Jimi Hendrix when he was 22 on Electric Ladyland. He's on 4 tracks playing organ. And then we have Ron Holloway, who plays currently with Warren Haynes. And he's been an Allman Brother. He's been with Tedeschi Trucks, with Grace Potter, plays with all these different groups. But those are the name characters we had actually played on this album.
Interlude, as you played upon my strings, oh how I bend to your touch. I saw the music of your life. Yes, I know you.
The whole is the sum of its parts, so being from many styles, you know, basically I started with blues, moved on to the British blues, and then the Allman Brothers kind of led me to look backwards, you know, to research where some of their cover tunes came from. And then once you start doing that research, that took me to another place with the blues. Played a little jazz. So yeah, the whole, being the sum of its parts, it took years to get to that place. So it showed me you could actually incorporate all these styles, R&B, jazz, funk, country-like blues, and so I started experimenting with it. Yeah, I would say, you know, you're influenced a little bit by your surroundings, but you know, I still, you know, I've already kind of found who I am, and I write from that place.
To your touch, I saw the music of your life. Yes, I know you.
I've just loved music ever since I was a kid. I really don't care to do anything else. You know, sometimes it's a bit of a gruel, you know, when you drive for 10 or 11 hours and you throw your gear up and play. And you've napped, you cat napped a little bit, but you do it, you know, because you love it. It's not always about the money. It's just music chose me, and I just go with it. Some days are diamond, some days are stone. Some years are great. Some years it's a little more, you know, a little more lean, but I just, this is what I do.
It was a Live to your touch. Ah, don't you just that much.
So I think, why do I do what I do? Because I enjoy the accidents. I enjoy the things that occur that you didn't really know were going to happen. That's why I like travel. It's exactly the same. You go on a trip, you think you know what's going to happen, you have no idea what's going to happen. Things happen completely differently than you thought, and you just roll with those punches, and it's great.
I'd say the star is central to life in Berkeley Springs, certainly our life in Berkeley Springs, and Jack and I have been doing the Star Theater literally every weekend for 37 years. Within the first 6 months I was here, we bought the theater, started the Arts Council, revived the Apple Butter Festival, and brought the Chamber of Commerce back to life. I never imagined these things were all going to become life sentences, but they have. Everything revolves around writing in one form or another. I don't identify myself with people who say, I have to write. And it's like, really? Okay. And I tell them, I write for money. That's what I do. Whether it's writing grants or writing books or writing, PR, it's really much, it's not literature, it's not art. I may be skilled and I may be a good writer. I don't consider myself an artist. Senate Magic is, I discovered there's actually a term for a book like that, which is called the kitchen sink book, because you throw everything into it, including the kitchen sink. When I wrote Senate Magic, it was 1991. When I decided to publish Senate Magic 23 years later, I sat down to reread the manuscript. I was amazed at how prescient a lot of what I wrote was, both in how the astrology, the magic, all of that is unchanged, except that it has evolved. I've been using it and doing it. The politics is so right on to the moment, it's frightening. The most recent new book I did was the Historic Images of Berkeley Springs for Arcadia Publishing. I decided I wanted to do the Berkeley Springs one because I wanted to make sure it was done right and that it had the most expansive view possible and that it looked at, and I know that I have a very particular point of view about this, to me the important part of Berkeley Springs history is its large scale importance, as opposed to, say, the genealogy of local families. It's the notion that this has been a resort town for almost 300 years, that notable people came here, that they saw this as an important part of their lives. It has had a change of character from the 18th century to the 19th century to the 20th century. So those were the things that interested me, and I wanted to make sure that the book reflected those. When you think about the first book I wrote is 500,000 words. When I came to doing the photo books, I was writing captions that were maybe no more than 50 words. And it was like doing 150 little research projects and figuring out how to put value add the photograph. I like to tell any fiction writer that they would do very well to spend some time as a journalist, because then you learn to get rid of all those unnecessary words. The star is almost more important than the writing, because what it does is it allows Jack and I to be extremely accessible to anybody who walks in here. The essence of the books, the essence of the community work, the essence of the star is holding the vision. That's really my job. My job is to hold the vision. It's not an easy job. I mean, it requires tremendous focus, and it requires a very broad view. Otherwise, the vision becomes too narrow.